The Toronto housing bubble is collapsing and the narrative around it is going with it as well. And it was always just that, a narrative, as we said on this channel. And that narrative was always about, obviously, immigration. And now you can see Toronto new condo sales fall to a 28-year low as investors retreat. And that's the key thing here. Investors retreat because they were the main culprits and cause of the bubble and the escalating prices. So let's see what they're saying here. And let's also see what's actually going on. So sales of new condo units in Toronto hit the lowest level since 1996 as the individual investors who have powered the market for decades pull back. Transaction of new condos in Canada's biggest city fell 64% in 2024 from a year earlier, the third straight annual decline according to a report released Thursday. Historically, mom and pop investors have been a key force in the market for new condo projects, which normally line up buyers before construction starts. But with rents falling and interest rates considerably higher than they were 3 years ago, many of these investors are losing money on the properties they already have. And you know, that is a great way to actually see if it's a bubble or not. Are they selling pre-construction units? Are they sold out before they even start building? Because if they are, it's likely a bubble that you're looking at, whatever country you're in, be it Canada or somewhere else. So I think that's really interesting. And then if you look at Toronto pre-construction condo prices, they're actually falling as well as there's a glut of unsold units. So very interesting what's going on there, and how this obviously affects the banking system is key here, because condo buildings, you may be thinking, oh, it's just Toronto, I don't live in Toronto, I don't care. But the thing is, these condo building projects are so large, the developers have to get huge loans from the Canadian banks. So obviously, if they can't sell the pre-construction units, and a lot of these condo towers they've already broke ground on as well, then they're in serious trouble with the loans. And we've already seen multiple developers that have gone into administration and gone bankrupt. So it's not like that isn't happening. That's a key risk for the banking system, especially when you've got private debt to GDP over 280% or something ridiculous like that, just off the top of my head. So pre-construction condo prices fell 15% in the Toronto region in the final quarter of 2024. That's a huge number as sales plunged to their lowest level in nearly 3 decades, and a glut of unsold units hits a record high. It was the worst year since the late 1990s for the pre-construction condo market, with investors souring on buying new units because they are no longer profitable. And that is what is key. I've been pounding the table saying that the condo market is mainly for speculators and investors. Sure, you have some people that are actually buying units, but it's mainly for speculators and investors. And that's why that category is in so much trouble right now, and will continue to be, because those investors, once they're gone, and it's unlikely that those investors are going to return anytime soon, especially because of this. This is so key. So if you look at Toronto rents, for example, you can see that Toronto rents here, year over year, a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. So they're down 6.4% for a 1-bedroom, and for a 2-bedroom, they're down 7.2%. So you've just got to think, obviously, if those are declining, and those are mainly condos, obviously 1 and 2 bedrooms, then what incentive does that give to investors? And then you've also got inflation that they've got to contend with. And the laugh of it was always like, oh, it's foreign investors, it's foreign investors. And they actually point out in the BNN article, which is what I've been saying all along, is that it's actually really mom and pop investors that have been heavily investing in real estate, especially over the past 5-10 years. If you look before that, I would agree with you and say it was more foreign investors. But because of the targeting of foreign investors, more and more of those have actually pulled out. And if you look at it, they pulled out at probably the best time to pull out as well. And you've still got huge losses that are going on. I mean, this is a near 37% loss on a house. Another one from Shazi. This isn't even in Toronto, it's in Oshawa, but it shows the kind of losses that people are having to contend with in this housing market bubble's demise. And the reality is, even if you believed that immigration argument, there is a key thing that's happening that shows that the immigration bubble is in fact imploding as well. So you can see here, federal immigration department cutting 3,300 jobs over 3 years. So obviously, if they're cutting jobs, even if they're planning to increase the number of people they're bringing to the country, it doesn't mean anything. This is more indicative of what's going to happen, because it just means that the application processing times are going to be way longer for everything. And I think it's the easiest way of seeing that immigration numbers are going to be vastly shrunk over the next few years. So Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada will be eliminating 3,300 positions across the country over the next 3 years. It's the latest job cuts announced by the federal government after 600 temporary and contract employee positions were cut at the Canada Revenue Agency last fall. And obviously what this really will impact more and more, and I think you're already starting to see that, is rents. That's what it's really going to impact. And you can see the Toronto's population, it's gone up. So it's not like you can say, oh, we've got this growing population, so housing prices are always going to rise. Well, we're seeing that play out right now, and they're not rising. So you basically can invalidate that argument straight off the bat, in case any real estate agents are still parroting that false narrative, which 90% of people were parroting, let's be fair. So there are now more than 7 million people living in Toronto and the surrounding region after another year of record growth, largely driven by temporary residents and new immigrants moving to the area. According to a Thursday's report from Statistics Canada, nearly 270,000 people moved to the Toronto metro area between July 1st, 2023 and July 1st, 2024, bringing the region's total population to 7.1 million people. This marks a 3.9% growth year over year and is near a record year of growth. Yet you've got rents declining, you've got condo sales that are at like lows not seen since the 1990s. I mean, the population growth argument can really be thrown out the window at this point. It's no longer a valid argument. It wasn't before, and a lot of people were parroting that argument. Again, there's always these narratives to go with bubbles and why they will continue, but you can see that narrative has completely imploded. And if you look at housing starts, well, housing starts are down as well. You can see on this chart, December 2024, they were down. So Canadian housing starts fall 13% in December. So Canadian housing starts fell 13% in December compared with the previous month, as groundbreaking decreased on multiple unit and single family detached urban homes. So again, you've got housing starts that are declining as well. So what does this really say about the housing market? Well, it doesn't say good things, does it? So we'll continue to monitor what happens here. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here. And then if you want to help support the channel and get the fastest VPN, then go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.